Hey guys, it is Steve Karma and we are in Coronagate day 52. I was listening to the news this morning and it looks like they might be relaxing some of the restrictions down with the lockdown. So I'm not really sure if that's a good idea or that's a bad idea, but let us know what you think in the comment section below. Hey there's my first viewer. Is that Byron? I don't know, it's hard to see on my tablet. Who is that? Tell us who you are. Is that Byron? Who is my first viewer? I don't know. It is Byron. Byron, how you doing, buddy? Let me just say as well, guys. This live. Good morning, Byron. This live feed has the ability. I think that's Tom Angus going by the picture. I'm going by the pictures. This live stream has the ability to invite people in. So I'm going to try and invite Byron in. Hold on. Let's just see if I can do that. Byron, do you fancy joining me? Let's see. Can I do that? Add viewers into your broadcast. Hold on. Hey, Tom Angus. Shall we allow viewers to be sent a request? Okay, yes. Let me just click. See, this never happens on those really professional things. So, okay. Okay, it's not letting me do that. Hey guys, what I wanted to do was invite some of you into the broadcast because I thought I was able to do that, but I don't know why it's not letting me do that. Let me just try one more time and then I will crack on. Okay, there you go. Hey Davey Allen, how you doing, buddy? How's your vlogging going? Davey Allen is also called The General. That's his kind of vlogger name, and he also vlogs. So a big shout out to Davey Allen. Right, guys, what we're doing is we are trialing reading through this book, The Big C, and we're going to try it for this week just to see how we get on. It's basically the Hope Church Reading Challenge. The details for it are in the description bar above, and what we are doing is we're trying to kind of interact with this book and kind of link it in with everything that's going on with lockdown. I was speaking to Margaret Layton yesterday. Margaret Layton, if you're watching, big shout out to you. And she was saying that she was really appreciating the fact that we were reading through the book through this live series. Well, Margaret, it's a bit of an experiment. We're going to continue this week and we're going to see how we get on. So let us know, guys, is this helpful for you reading a few pages of the book, or is it better just to go back to, just kind of winging it and just doing kind of random kind of inspirational thoughts? Let us know. So here's what's going on. This guy, Jeremy Marshall, has found out that he's got cancer. He's been going through a whole bunch of chemotherapy. It's a very rare type of cancer, and things don't really look good for him. So it says, one of the most common commands in the Bible in general, both from God and to humans, and from Jesus to his disciples, is don't be afraid. I think that's an important command that we need to be focusing on right now. It's pretty easy to start feeling afraid, isn't it? Particularly with all the kind of fear-mongering and, we are on the victory side. We shall prevail. But it says, here is a story from one of the 4 eyewitness accounts of Jesus' life from Mark's Gospel. That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, let's go over to the other side. Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? So you guys remember the story. They're basically on the Lake of Galilee, and a big storm is erupting. He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, Quiet, be still. Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? They were terrified and asked each other, Who is this? Even that the wind and the waves obey him. Jesus deliberately goes to sleep while a huge storm threatens to sink the boat. The storm arises out of nothing. He puts his followers in harm's way. The disciples' immediate reaction is one of complete terror. And again, like this whole Coronagate thing, it came out of nowhere, didn't it? But God has allowed the situation to come out of nowhere. But that does not mean that we, as people of faith, need to lose our peace and get all crazy. Okay, so stop buying loads and loads of bog roll. Okay, don't do it. It's going to be okay. Just use the bog roll that you have and buy the bog roll that you need. Don't get crazy. And it's okay to be a little bit anxious, but don't let that anxiousness consume you. Davey Allen, you've not told me if you're continuing with your vlog. So Dave, stick it in the comment section below. Loss of control. Fear, as a writer called Max Lucado points out, as he comments on this passage from Mark's Gospel, turns us into control freaks. He is surely right to say that fear is at least about a perceived loss of control. Someone told me once that fear is terror at what is known, and anxiety is terror at what is unknown. And I think that fear and anxiety are both things that we are struggling with at the moment. For someone like me, who up until cancer had been very successful at work and enjoyed making decisions and giving orders with varying success, one of the hardest things to come to terms with is that you are not in control. If you're logging in late, because I'm seeing the view count going up, he's talking about his wrestle with terminal cancer. Or to be more precise, you finally realize that you were not in control all along. When there is fear like that of the disciples, who ruddily and abruptly say to Jesus, "Don't you care if we drown?" the temptation is to doubt God's character or his existence. But in fact, God meets us most of all in the storms of life. Lucado points out that we expect to find God, if he exists, in peaceful hymns or quiet retreats or meditation. We never expect to see him in a storm, but it's in storms that he does his finest work, for it is in the storm that he has our keenest attention. Guys, this is about growth. This is about the purification of the church. The way in which we grow, the way in which we are purified most is through hardship and through struggle. And we don't like that. We want like a quick fix, instant, easy route to maturity. Guys, it's not how it works. So what we need to do is we need to allow this pandemic and this lockdown to bring the best out of us, okay? Trust and awe. What God has been trying to teach me, I believe, is to trust him. The answer to my fear is more fear. Or better put, awe. Awe in the presence of God. Awe that I can communicate with the maker of the universe. God can appear to be asleep or non-existent, but if you cry out to him for help, as the disciples did, however roughly and desperately, I'm convinced that he will answer you. Guys, if you have incidents within your own life where God has really come through, just stick that in the comment section below. But I've found, and I've been walking with Jesus over 20 years. I've been a pastor, I think it was 10 years in May. So it was 10 years. And I've seen God come through time and time and time again. And there are times in which God feels distant. I mean, Jesus on the cross says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So if Jesus can say that and feel that, yes, because he was taking the sins of the world upon his shoulders, but then we can definitely feel like that too. But I don't know how many times I've seen God come through. I remember once we had a number of different bills. This was in the last house. Something was leaking. I think our fridge broke down, or I can't remember what it was. And I was driving to a prayer meeting. And when I was driving to the prayer meeting, my tire burst. Now, back then, I drove this kind of soft top sports car, not because that's my car of choice, but because somebody gave me this car. Anyway, so the tires were really expensive, about £120 for a tire or whatever it was. And I remember rocking up to this prayer meeting, and I was late for this prayer meeting. And one of the guys, Pete, his name was, he was saying, look, as we were praying, I hadn't even mentioned it. He said, look, I just felt God lay it on my heart to give you this. And he gave me the money for the tire, which I was like, wow. And that's just a very small example, but I've seen time and time and time again, not just for me, but for other people, God come through. It goes on, it says, the Bible has some amazing promises about this. For example, it says, if you seek me and find me, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. God, we are promised, doesn't play hide and seek. He wants everyone everywhere to seek him and find him and know him. I've found this to be true. In the depths of despair with cancer, when I cried to God to help, I found that he answered me. Not to cure me, although he could do that if he wants, but to reassure me that he is there, that he is in control, and that he's working his purpose out. Someone told me recently that God promises us health. I can confirm that that isn't true. But what is true is that he offers us something much more important than health. He offers us himself. So some people think that just because you're a Christian, you're going to walk in perfect health and wealth. That is absolute rubbish. There's a guy in the Bible called Timothy. He's got an issue with his stomach. So Paul, who for some reason is unable to heal him, says, take some wine for your stomach's sake. Paul himself has got the thorn in the flesh, and I think there's someone else within the New Testament. I can't remember his name. That's the problem with going live. But he doesn't get healed either. Just Google it. Not everybody gets healed, and that's okay. And you don't always walk in perfect health, and that's okay. But we know this, that God is with us in spite of that. So what's your worldview? For me and others who believe in God, the key question is, do you trust God in your suffering and trouble? But of course, if you don't believe in God, there is an alternative worldview. You may feel that this sounds harsh, but without God, the only alternative to accept is that life is simply a matter of randomness. Richard Dawkins is well known for that view. DNA, this is a quote from Dawkins, neither cares nor knows. DNA just is, and we dance to its music. And this, evolution has no long-term goal. There's no long-distance target, no final perfection to serve as a criterion for selection. Although human vanity cherishes the absurd notion that our species is the final goal of evolution. Is Darwin really right that life is simply utter futility and randomness? That is not how most of us live. So the logical, inevitable conclusion of atheism is there pointed out by Richard Dawkins, that we are controlled by our DNA and that things happen because we live in a world of sheer randomness. And, the Bible would present to us something that is completely different. Even things that are harmful can be used for good. I was speaking to a friend of mine's, Hey Dave Hyam, and I knew him back in my drug taking days. So he calls me Karma, and it's weird. Nobody calls me Karma, but he calls me Karma. I'm an identical twin, and they used to call us both Karma. And thinking back about some of those days, spending time in police cells, friends who I kind of grew up with, and close friends, hanging themselves, committing suicide, going to prison, all of that sort of stuff. Stuff that you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy. But I kind of look back now, and even though I don't want my kids to go through that, and even though there were some really, really, really dark times, I see how God is using it for my good and also to help other people. And I just want to say, look, regardless of what you have been through, God will take your scars and he will use them as medals. I promise you right now, I promise you, whether that's illnesses, whether that's mental health issues, whether that's addiction issues, I'm not saying it's okay to stay where you are, but I am saying this, that God is okay with where you are and he can take you on and he can bring you to where he wants you to be. So then it says, why me? Why me? Is a question that many of us ask. If life is random, why do we ask that? But we do. And it is a question which I've often asked myself. When I was diagnosed, it was my first reaction. It occurred to me most urgently when I was in chemotherapy in 2016 and I lost the sight in both eyes. Wow. I could hardly even see enough to walk anywhere without crashing into something. It was truly terrifying, especially the thought that perhaps the right eye, like the left, would be irreparable and I would be both blind and with what I thought at the time, terminal cancer. Again, I asked God the question, why me? By the way, asking God questions is very much encouraged in the Bible. God meets us in our doubts and perplexities. He can cope with our emotions. God allows suffering to happen for reasons that I don't fully understand, but I believe there are some reasons that can be helpful. They only give me a partial answer, but a partial answer is better than none. And I don't know, man, I probably would have struggled with the blindness more than the cancer. But and I guess it's not just the blindness, it's that sense of helplessness and that sense that you have to truly depend upon other people. And that's really hard. But that's really hard. He says, perhaps the most important answer I found as I think things through is that I'm part of a much bigger story. God is infinitely big and has eternal purposes which he is working out. We are part of God's blockbuster film. He plays the leading part though, okay? We're just like extras. Like most of us, I have a big ego. I tend to think it's all about me. I'm convinced that God has allowed cancer to happen to me for his own reasons, which I don't understand at the moment. But I am also convinced that when I meet God face to face, everything will fall into place and I will see how he used me and all his children for his own glory. That's why trusting God is the key quality that I need when faced with fear. Something very big is going on and I must place my hands into my Father's hands and go where he wants me to go. So that's us up to the top part of page 26. If you want the book, guys, remember that the link is in the description bar above, and it's called The Big C by Jeremy Marshall. Let us know, guys, as well. Is it helpful us reading the book to you, or is it better to go back to those kind of standalone kind of devotional thoughts? Because this is an experiment for this week. But that's it, guys. Have an absolutely awesome day. Loads of love to you. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Stay encouraged. And just take care of each other. God bless you guys. Bye.